Many people wouldn't have a clue who Mahindra is, and who could blame them? Outside of India, the brand is not a household name, unlike, say, Toyota or Subaru. But this XUV 3XO could change that. Indeed, Mahindra has come a long way since it launched in Australia in the early 90s with the Bushranger, whose Jeep origins were clear to see. 3 decades later, and here we are with Mahindra's pint-sized contender, priced from a ridiculous 24K drive away. So, is this the vehicle that finally puts Indian cars on the map in Australia? Let's find out. But don't let that low price fool you. It's cheap, but not entirely nasty. Despite targeting buyers in the used car market, it comes with bucket loads of modern features, including dual digital screens, wireless Apple CarPlay, and keyless entry. The 3XO is an evolution of the XUV 300, which was never sold in Australia. And while the brand is yet to truly achieve mainstream cut-through in mature car markets like Australia, it is starting to find its feet, with the Scorpio off-road SUV and XUV 700 giving it solid ammunition in export markets. But the 3XO will almost instantly become the Indian brand's top seller in this country, and plays in the same league as other mini-me SUVs like the Hyundai Venue, Toyota Yaris Cross, and top-selling Mazda CX-3. But its closest rival is the Chinese-built Chery Tiggo 4, which matches it on price. Speaking of which, this is one of the cheapest new SUVs you can buy in Australia today, starting at $24,000 drive away for the, wait for it, Mahindra XUV 3XO A5XL. It's a mouthful. The other model available in Australia is the AX7L, which is what we're testing here today. It's priced at just under $27,000, and it gets a bit more fruit than the AX5L. So we're talking slightly bigger alloy wheels, synthetic leather seats, a bigger sunroof, and a banging Harman Kardon stereo system. Because the pricing is drive away, there's no sneaky on-road costs added on top. The only extra is premium paint, which is $495. This white on black getup, free. Warranty provisions are impressive, with an above average 7 years of coverage, but service costs aren't as low as a Toyota Yaris Cross SUV's $255 yearly bill. By comparison, this Mahindra costs around $330 per annum, averaged across 6 services. Okay, the design, and well, it's different. Now, that's not a criticism, that's an observation. But before we get into the details, my favourite element of the exterior is the ground clearance. At just over 200 millimetres, this sits higher off the road than a Toyota RAV4. And for a small SUV like this, it is seriously jacked up. It gives the compact SUV a bit of a moon buggy vibe, but also means you'll never need to worry about bashing the bodywork on curbs and so forth. This boosted ride height is typical of many Indian vehicles where the road surfaces are pretty crummy. So it's not a case of, ooh, let's build a Jimny rival. It's more, you kind of have to have it like this, otherwise it's going to struggle. The front design is a little busy, and I'm not in love with the headlight clusters. But again, at least it's different. And it gets lots of LEDs, which is good. There's a lot going on at the rear, but if nothing else, it's modern, and the full-width LED taillights look great. You will not miss this SUV on a foggy road at night. Mahindra's compact triple-cylinder turbo petrol powertrain drives the front wheels through a conventional 6-speed automatic transmission. And while they don't deliver class-leading refinement or fuel efficiency, they do the job. Overseas, Mahindra offers a more powerful version of this engine, complete with an intercooler and direct injection, but we only get this lower powered one because it needs to adhere to new CO2 emissions regulations, dubbed NVES. And it's a little bit of a shame really, because the vital statistics of this vehicle make for pretty wimpy reading on paper. First impressions, cautiously positive. The overall decor, the two-tone white on black, looks pretty good. It's easy on the eye, bit of contrast, matches the exterior colour in this case. 2 digital screens, and these both come on the entry-level model as well, not just the top spec model here. Bonus points for that. The controls have great tactility, and even the doors close with a solid thud. I was not expecting that.
Well, that was unexpected.
While there are lots of cheap and scratchy plastics below the belt line, material quality is very good for this price point. And the synthetic leather on the dashboard, doors and seats feels pretty good. Seat comfort is fine for such a small car with super soft bolsters but more supportive central cushioning, and the driver gets 6-way manual adjustment, including for height, which is nice. What's not so nice is the lack of telescopic adjust on what is a surprisingly nice steering wheel, I've got to say. You've got these leather dimples here. It feels good. It's good quality. But I'll show you what I mean. So when you go to adjust the steering wheel up and down, that's nice, that's good. But it doesn't go in and out. And if you're like me and you like to have the steering wheel in your lap, you've got to move the chair forward and then your legs are a little bit cramped. And yeah, look, it's not the end of the world, but for me, I don't love that. Now, the steering wheel itself, as I said, really nice. The steering wheel controls are very good. They're well laid out. They feel good, except for one little issue. This little fella on the side here, it sort of rubs against its frame when you push it up against its bezel. And it's like a minor manufacturing fault. And even though this is probably supplied by an external source to Mahindra, fact is you simply wouldn't find this on a Japanese car. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something I noticed, and it detracts a little bit from the overall quality in the cabin. The rest of the controls feel good, are large, clearly labelled, and the dual zone climate control dials feel really solid. Everything is easy to reach, partly because it's a tiny car. I like that it has an auto hold function too, so you don't have to constantly flick on the electric park brake when you stop at traffic lights and so forth. The piano black trim on the centre console and transmission tunnel looks classy until you touch it and it turns into a crime scene for fingerprints.
Weird, huh?
And this is why I always carry a hanky with me. You can rub off the fingerprints before the in-laws get in the car. No one needs to know. Sure, you're probably spreading influenza everywhere and making everyone sick, but that's okay. Now, let me know in the comments. Are you pro hanky too? Anyway, let's get to storage solutions. Starts with this small box here. It's not massive, but bear in mind that a lot of compact SUVs don't even have an armrest or a little concealed box here, so I like that. 2 cup holders here. They're rather small. They don't fit the 750ml bottle. They do fit coffee cups and whatnot. They're not spring-loaded, but they do have rubber grommets, so there's a little bit of grip in there. Over here, you've got the wireless phone charger. You don't get that in the entry-level model, just this top spec, but that is useful. And you've got 2 USB ports as well, a USB-A port and a USB-C. And the USB-C port is 65 watts, so you can charge things like your laptop from that, which I love, because you know, when you're sitting here and taking your notes about this car, what you like, what you don't like, your battery's running out, that's useful. On the flip side, if you want to use wired CarPlay and Android Auto, you have to use USB-A. So it would be nice if they both worked for that, but there you go. Now, the glove box, it is massive. It's like a portal to Narnia. Look how deep that is. That is insane. It's like I'm always going to find a lamppost or a line in there. It is very cool. In fact, it is cool because it's got cooling as well. So that is so good. I love that. More of that, please. Nice work, Mahindra. The other storage solutions include the door pockets, and they do fit the Mega Gulp, the 1 litre bottle, which is good. They're multi-pocketed. They're quite versatile, which is great. And some people have said in the comments, oh, why would you just not change your bottles instead of buying a car to fit your bottles? The point I'm trying to get across here is that there's a benchmark. It just shows the difference between the different cars, which cars fit bigger bottles, which don't. So yeah, some cars don't fit that big bottle. This one does. That's a thumbs up in my book. The fact that this tiny tacker comes with twin 10.2-inch digital screens is impressive. And the best part is they've both got loads of functionality. Although there's one major omission: no native GPS sat-nav. Anyway, the central screen responds fairly quickly to touch input and has 2 useful shortcut menus. The top one with all your audio stuff and the bottom one with climate controls, documents, gallery, etc. And how's this? Physical buttons along the bottom of the screen, which are permanent shortcuts to car settings, radio, phone, and there's a home button too. And best of all, a physical volume controller. I love that. So many Chinese cars these days do everything via the touchscreen. You get none of this stuff, and You know, I guess it creates a nice minimal sort of look up front, but in a lot of ways it's cost cutting and it's lazy engineering. I think having access to one-touch buttons to do various actions in the car is a safety issue, and me personally, I just like that better. But I digress. Wired and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are available, and for the most part they work well, although I did have a few glitches here and there with wireless Apple CarPlay. But again, response times are pretty good for such a cheap car. The technology system looks good and works well, and the 7-speaker Harman Kardon stereo is pretty good too. Audiophiles will love it, with more adjustability than a chiropractor's treatment table. The 10-inch digital driver's display is also very, very good. I'm impressed with the amount of functionality this thing has. So it's got the usual three different themes you can set it on, plus there's a whole bunch of options you can flick through: driver assists, display, settings, drive info, fuel economy, and then there's the navigation. And while this vehicle doesn't have native sat nav, you click on navigation, and if you've got CarPlay running, it actually replicates Google Maps or Waze into this screen, and you can make it full screen. And while it kind of stretches it and looks a little bit munted, I don't know many vehicles that can actually do this. So bravo for the software engineers working on this car. That is a cool feature. But it can be annoying adjusting the car's autonomous driving systems like lane keep assist and adaptive cruise control, because they have to be done through this driver's display screen. Surely this would have been a better place to locate commonly used driving assistance functions. I mean, there's even 3 empty buttons there. The parking camera system is great. The default screen featuring reverse and 360-degree overhead camera angles, plus front and rear proximity sensors. Then you can expand the view, choose several other options and angles, and there's even a 3D mode. Best of all, you can take photos, which is handy if you need evidence of wrongdoing or you see something funny. While the Mini Mahindra is missing a few items, none of them are crucial in an infotainment sense. And overall, it's well equipped. Safety systems are solid for the most part, with 6 airbags and most of the expected semi-autonomous driving systems. But without a centre front airbag, blind spot warning and rear cross traffic alert, it will not attain 5 ANCAP safety stars. We've discovered that Mahindra will not submit this vehicle for ANCAP safety testing until at least 2026. And when it does, it's likely to have the safety systems it needs to be a 5-star vehicle. But at the same time, that super cheap price will likely rise as well. Okay, backseat room is actually not too bad. Look at the legroom I've got here, but let's bear in mind that because of that steering wheel that lacks the telescopic adjustment, I've got my seat pushed quite a way forward. But even coming back a few inches, it's not too bad back here, and I'm really surprised with the overall packaging. It's spacious. I can put my feet under the seats here, and comfort levels are pretty reasonable as well. I will say this though, ergonomics are not amazing. I feel like the backrests, which are non-adjustable, it's kind of halfway between too far tilted back, but not enough. Well, you know, it needs to be more upright. And so I'm sort of leaning forward to get comfortable. It's erky-perky, I think is the technical term there. And another thing as well, no anti-pinch. Oh! But coming back to the dirt cheap price, this is pretty good. I mean, storage solutions, pretty nice back here. You've got 2 seat back pockets, really good door pockets. There's a little slot here for a mobile phone if you want to chuck it in. And then you've got really good amenity through the adjustable air vents, USB-C port, very nice, 12-volt socket as well. That's good. These lights here, the reading lights, are full on. There's 2 LEDs in there, and the kids turned them on when I was driving at night, and they are so bright. It's almost too intense. You've got the grab handles, plus the coat hooks, a fold-out armrest with 2 cup holders. This is something you don't always see on a compact SUV. Plus, you've got the double ISOFIX child seat anchorages and 3 top tethers. If you've got baby seats in, but I did notice when fitting ours, the doors don't open that wide. It is a little bit tricky to get them in, but they do fit and it does work pretty well. There's no power operated tailgate, but as the bloke behind the camera, Andy, says, manual is better because it's quicker, which is true. But you try telling that to a parent wrangling children and shopping bags, and yeah, I guess it depends if you've got kids or not really. Anyway, the boot space is actually rather good for a vehicle of this size. This is tiny, this is less than 4 meters long. You could put this on your bookshelf at home. So while it is a little bit narrow, just over 50 centimeters there, it's really, really deep. You can actually get a lot of stuff in there. And amenity isn't bad either. This LED light here is super bright at night, illuminates the whole boot, and the bag hooks, these are excellent. You've got 2 passive ones, and then there's another 2 that fold out, and I love a good bag hook because I'm constantly going shopping. The kids are always demanding food. What's for lunch, Dad? All right, we'll go get some more food. There's even a subwoofer for the Harman Kardon stereo, and Mercy B, a spare tyre. Very good, Mahindra, very good. Plus the rear seats fold down almost flat. Overall, this tiny Mahindra is impressive given its size and especially its price point. It has exceeded expectation. And guess what? It drives pretty nicely too. The Mahindra XUV 3XO doesn't feel flashy or luxurious in the way it drives, but it is honest, and it certainly doesn't feel like an ultra cheap rust bucket either. It's well suited to urban exploration thanks in part to its tiny size, and those short overhangs make navigating tight turns and roundabouts, positioning the vehicle and parking the car really straightforward. And even if you don't use the impressive camera parking system, this vehicle's small 10.6 meter turning circle and excellent vision out of these large windows make it effortless to slot into pretty much any car park. Zazing. For such a small vehicle, it sits quite high off the ground, and that impressive ground clearance gives it a point of difference among small SUVs in this segment. This one actually feels like an SUV rather than a crossover. Ride comfort is pretty good too. The Mini Mahindra soaking up lumps and bumps with a level of sophistication that belies its simple suspension array. The McPherson front struts and a torsion beam rear end are largely compliant across most surfaces, and it settles promptly after speed bumps. It's a good little unit. And it doesn't drive like a teeny tiny micro car either. The way the wheels are pushed out to all 4 corners of the body help in this respect, and it sits confidently on the road at urban and highway speeds. The Goodyear Assurance Triple Max 2 tyres ensuring good road holding for the most part, even in the damp. But it's not all smooth sailing. Those tyres, they generate a bit of noise, especially on coarse chip surfaces and at higher speeds. And I've noticed there's a bit of a rattle coming from that cargo area. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I haven't figured it out. I've tried poking around and pushing things here, there and everywhere. And you know, ultimately, at this price, you're gonna have to accept a few compromises. No such qualms with the powertrain, which is a lot better than anticipated. Sure, there's not a lot of power on tap, but the 200 Newton meters of torque at low revs, just 1500 RPM, gives this 1400 kilogram concrete junglist reasonable punch off the line. It takes a while to build up steam, and at freeway speeds and on the open road, it's not quite as swift to accelerate. But by and large, it's a responsive little donk. I quite like it. It's quite an endearing engine, and the 6-speed auto from reputable Japanese supplier Aisin makes the most of the mumbo available. I love the fact that Mahindra has skipped the usual eco, normal and sport drive modes, instead going for zip, zap and zoom. Kind of sounds like the title of a children's book about hyperactive squirrels. The 3XO is genuinely very relaxed to drive. It's quick, accurate steering, making it easy in tight confines, and the brakes too are surprisingly strong. Handling dynamics are neither amazing nor terrible. On the open road and nice flowing corners, it actually holds the road quite well. It's pretty reasonable, and I think Mahindra's engineers have done a really good job with what they've got. But look, if you're after something engaging, then this probably isn't it. You might want to look at a Mazda CX-3 or maybe a CX-30, something like that. Fuel economy is merely okay. I expected a lower figure given the tiny engine, but the flip side here is that the small engine's lack of muscle means it often has to work a little harder to keep up with traffic. The autonomous driving aids are actually fairly credible and worth using. On the freeway, the adaptive cruise control does a pretty good job of keeping its distance between other cars, and if the lanes are marked clearly, which is usually the case on the freeway, it can steer itself around mile corners. It's a surprise for a vehicle that is this cheap. Zoom out for a moment, and this little SUV is full of surprises. Most of them the good kind that actually matter. I've banged it along some country dirt roads as well, and the news is pretty good. It's planted and predictable. And while, yes, it's front wheel drive and you're never going to tackle really rough stuff with a vehicle like this, but it does have hill descent control, and that ride height does mean you don't have to worry too much about big potholes and heavier hits. So the Mahindra 3XO definitely exceeds expectations, but I'll admit, those expectations weren't exactly sky high going in. And there is the safety issue. This hasn't been tested by ANCAP, so there's a question mark hanging over its head. That being said, the more time I spent driving this Mahindra XUV 3XO AX7L, and yes, that is a ridiculous name, the more it's won me over. This is a cleverly designed and impressively engineered vehicle for the price. The price point, fit and finish, equipment levels, and a remarkably cohesive driving experience all hit the mark. But the two significant negatives you need to consider here are longevity, how well will it hold up over time, and the safety issue. But as first impressions go, the 3XO has definitely earned some respect. And while Mahindra still has a long way to go before it's going to be a household name like Toyota or Mazda, this little tacker brings the brand one step closer towards mainstream credibility. Thanks for watching, and if there's anything I've missed and you own one of these, let me know and we can get the conversation started in the comments.